Hi guys, Crafting Redstone here, and today we're going to have a look at information sending to ALUs. So let's get started. As I mentioned in the last episode, hoppers and droppers and chests and basically any other block with an inventory comparators can sense when a block is in their inventory. So as you see, we've got just one orange stained clay alternating between these two hoppers, and this is because this hopper is going into this one, or is immediately going straight back into this one, and then back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and this makes basically each comparator turn on. And this is a type of redstone clock, but they can get a lot more complex than that. So let's have a look at it. This redstone clock is very widely used. How it works is that it's got 10 or well any number of items in one hopper. And what happens when we've got a redstone block or any redstone input going into a hopper, it will prevent it from flowing back into the other hopper. Because generally, when we do this, let's just grab a hopper and face them into each other, like so. And then we get a large bunch of items, like this. And if we put, let's say, 10 or so items in here, one will keep coming into this one and then going out again, and you'll see that they will not all flow into one and then all flow back into the other. They will just only alternate one item, and this is a bit of a problem when you're wanting to make longer redstone clocks, well hopper clocks even, than that. So what happens is we've got this. Basically, when this one is filling up, as it is now, we've got a redstone signal coming from it, and that redstone signal is ready to power this piston, sorry. But when this hopper is completely empty of items, then this comparator will turn off, turning off this piston, allowing this piston now to push the block up here to repeat the cycle, basically meaning it will alternate. One hopper will completely fill, like it is doing now, then that hopper will completely empty and fill the other hopper, and this basically alternates this piston here. Well, as you can see, when it's flipped like now, it lights up this light, meaning we can have redstone input. And this is really useful for making these information sending to ALUs. And this is not really required. These you can make ALUs and other different things without using these, but I find it's a lot more useful. And for making very basic computers, like I'll be doing a tutorial on later, I find that these are very, very useful, as you don't really want to build something massive when it's going to be a very simple circuit. So let's have a look at this. Basically, how this works is like on the last video when we looked at redstone memory storage. We have two redstone storage cells here, exactly the same. What we use these two for is for just storing two whole numbers, and because in the XOR gates, what we use in the ALU to add things together, and the AND gates even, what we need is two numbers, and we can't have any more than this. This is why I've just got two of these here. And basically what happens, you choose two numbers from this one, and these will get sent over to this. They will get stored in this as well, and those signals will all just travel out straight down into here. So as you can see, currently we've got a 11011 stored and a 10101. I don't know what numbers they correlate to. It was just a random pattern I was putting in. But anyway, let's say we wanted to add these two numbers. We can't just put all of them through an XOR gate as it only has two inputs. So, well, you can make XOR gates and AND gates with more inputs, but for addition circuits, what we're going to be doing, it can only have two inputs in. So what we need to do is divide this number into 5 different sections, so two numbers can go in at the same time. And we generally want to go left to right, so we want to do let's say, we'll put it in decimal terms now. Let's say we had the number 10. In the 10, we would have 0 and a 1. And let's say we wanted to add the number 15, let's say, so that would be 25 in total. What you'll do if you've been taught column addition in maths, we will add the 5 and the 0 first, what would equal a 5, and then we'd have add the 1 and the 1 next, what would equal 2. And this is basically what we're doing here. We're saying we want to take the first number, where the piston is powered, so the signal will get through, and that is a 1, as this one is powered here. We also want to take the first number, the first digit of the second number, and also take that and add those two together. And then after that, we want to move on to the second digit of the first number and the second digit of the second number, and then the third digit of the third number, the third digit of the second number. Did I say third digit of the third number? Third digit of the first number and third digit of the second number. We want to keep continuing doing this and adding them, and we will get carryovers in this. I'll explain that in a minute. This is where this yellow comes in. But because on this example we've got a 5-digit number in binary, what this means, we need a hopper clock what can count to 5 and then go back to the beginning again. So each hopper can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then all the way back to the beginning again here. And that means we can separate each one of these numbers into 5 sections and send them off into the ALU. So how we do this is with one of these hopper clocks, and I mentioned this earlier, so let's have a look. So let's take a look at this. This is exactly, while all the rest of it, the same hopper clock as over here. It has got 10 items in. I'll just get rid of those items in my inventory very quickly. There we go. It's got 10 items in, and it's just waiting for a redstone signal to send them back into the other one. So what's happening? We have got a input here telling it when to start separating up these numbers and sending them to the ALU, and this button corresponds to that. So the signal comes through, and currently this RS NOR latch is on because the items here are not in here. What this does when you send the signal is the RS NOR latch resets, so the item comes back over here. And what that means is now we've not got an output here, and what this output is doing here is it permanently powering this piston here, meaning that the hopper clock can't activate. But once that has changed and gone off, the hopper clock can start again. And so this will go through, doing its hopper clock thing, into a monostable circuit. And I'll show you one of those very, very quickly. So what a monostable circuit is basically a piston. I can't remember exactly how many ticks it takes to move up and down, but when it's got a redstone signal here, it will power this piston and then send it through for only a short amount of ticks. So if we give an example of this with, I need some sort of redstone signal, if we put this torch in, you can see the piston immediately powers up. But we have this short amount of time, if you have a look here, on this redstone repeater, that this redstone repeater turns on. This makes sure it's got a really short pulse, so that the item in the hopper can only move to the next hopper and then stop moving, because it's again being powered by this redstone signal, but stops it passing on its items. So that allows it very short pulse for the items to move from this hopper to this hopper. And what that does is, I've given a quick example here, but is it pushes a piston up, and the same piston's over here, but this one has also got getting trapped in my redstone builds. This has got 2 hopper circuits. So this is one here going from here to here, and also there's one here going from here to here. Works exactly the same way. It's just waits for that very short signal for that item to travel over to this hopper here. Then these pistons can activate and let the next signal pass through. So how we make sure it only does 5 pulses to allow the hopper to move 5 times? How we do this is by having just another hopper circuit here, but when it gets to this one, this comparator fires going into this redstone repeater will then puts a signal into the RS NOR latch. And if you remember from earlier, this RS NOR latch then has an output and permanently pushes this piston up, meaning it can't retract, meaning the hopper clock stops. And that just allows for 5 quick pulses to travel through over here and let 5 different numbers out. Well, 10 in total. 5 sections of two numbers out. So let's just give that. Let's just show that as an example. So we press this now. The RS NOR latch will reset, allowing this piston to move. So as you can see, it's now moving. The items will slowly move along here. So let's wait a second. Anytime now. There you go, see it moved. And this allows different numbers to come through. So as you can see, we've got a 0 and a 1 at the moment. Well, 0, 1, 0. And if we wait for the next one, we've got 1, 0, 0. So as you can see, this lets different numbers through. And once we get to this end number in a second. You'll see this comparator goes off like that, and then changes the RS null latch will then fully extend this piston, meaning that we can only have 5 pulses going to this. And that is very important, because if you had any more than that, it'd keep cycling through and you get a completely different number at the end of it, and you don't want that. So that's the basics of sending sections of numbers to the ALU. And then we have to receive these numbers. So, if you remember back to the ALU video, we had a C in and C out, and the C stands for carry. And when you're adding binary numbers, you can either have 3 different options, and a 0 and a 0, what equals 0, and a 1 and a 0 in either combination, as in 0 and 1, what equals 1, and adding 1 and 1, which equals 1, 0 in binary. So what would happen, this 0 would travel along here, and get sent into the RS null latches to be stored in the Redstone memory. And that would be your output. But we have this carry, what is the 1 from the 1 and 0. And what this would happen, this would go back through into the next ALU calculation. So if we were adding 4 and 4, what would be 1, 0, 0? Actually, no, we'll do a different one. We'll do 3 add 3. So we know this equals 6. And I've chosen this number because it contains 1, 1 and 1, 1. This means we'll get 2 lots of carryovers. So, if we add the first 1 and 1, what is sent from here? Actually, we can put this in. So, if we... I think I've just chosen... Oh, no, I think I've done the right one, yeah, with each other. But if we're going to put this in, a 1 and a 1 for 3. So has that gone through? A 1, and no, it hasn't gone through. Oh dear. Oh no, it has gone through. It is just not. Ah, this is where I've made a mistake. I've forgotten to put either a repeater or a comparator there to let the signal go through. Oops. Anyway, we've got this 1 and 1 going through into the ALU. As you can see, we've currently got 1. Anyway, if we're then going to put in the second number, which would be... Yep. So we put in the second number. As you can see, we get the 1 and the 1. So if we add these together, we'll get 0, 1. So the 0 will travel through into here. And let's just grab a lever. And this would save as the first number. Actually, I've just put the wrong one through because the answer was 0 and I just put a 1 in. Oops. Anyway, let's ignore this. And wow, because the first answer was 0, no input will go through to this one, and it would just move on to the second storage. So what would happen? We would have this hopper circuit here. What would just let it a different piston push up, so the signal can then go through to memory slot number 2 and then come out here. So once we've added 1 and 1, we have a carryover. This carryover would come here and activate the RS null latch to remember this carryover until the ALU process is finished. This carryover would come over here and then come to this one here. Pretend these 2 wires are matched up to this carryover so it can link back through. It's not, but in a later video for making a computer they will be, and I'll show you that later on. So let's say now that the carryover has come through, what should be on, because we had a 1 and a 0, because 1 and 1 is 1, 0 in binary. So let's do that. Oh, or maybe let's not do that. I don't know, because there is no item in it. So as you can see, now all 3 are lit up. So if we then go to the next, number along, we will get, still, because it's a 1, 1 and a 1, 1, we'll still get 1, 1, 1 and a 1 and a 1 now. So 1 and 1 and 1 is 3. So the answer would be 1, 1, because that is 3. So we would then put 1 in here. We would reset the carryover, what is not actually an option in this one because I forgot to include it. And we've got this carryover again. So the memory slots will then go 1 across again for the next one to be stored. And because now, let's just break these so it looks like it. So now we've got 0, 0, and we're just adding the carryover from the previous sum. So what would happen now is 1 add 0, 0 equals 1, so we would finally get this 1 here. So if we then come over here and have a look at this, we've got 0, 1, 1. If you do 0, 1, 1, you'll find that is 6. And I've tried to show this just using this. We haven't actually got any ALUs to figure out this, but so this would be a 1, and we've got a 2, so 2 add 4, because this is a 4, is 6. So we've added those two numbers together. So that's how it sends different bits of information over to the ALU. This then gets those bits of information, and depending on what part of the number it is, what digit in the number is, it will then send it through to the RS null latches. So if it's the first digit, so like 1, if you've watched my previous binary video, I'll show you this. But this first one will be a 1, this will be a 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. So each section comes along and it will trigger a different RS null latch depending on what part of the number it's currently accepting. So currently it's accepting the 8 part of it, because it's 1, 4, 8, and as you can see, this piston is up, so it's any signal that comes through will go to the 8 section of the RS null latch. And finally, when we get to the end of this sum, we may or may not have a carryover, because it might just happen from adding, if we add a number such as 11111 and 11111, you would get a carryover of 1 at the end of it. So this 1 would eventually, when it gets to the end of this, so let's say we have gone through it a number of times, so this would be linked up to those hopper clocks I showed you earlier. I've just not linked up because I've tried to show it as a separate thing. So now you can see we've got 2 pistons up, and this will accept both the total from the main total from the calculation and the carryover to go through into the RS null latches and get saved. So that's why that happens, is because if we add 1 and 1, we will have 2 what is 1, 0. So we'd have a 0 coming along here, 0 will get saved to here, although it'll be more like 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, so it'll be more like 16 and 32. But anyway, if we had a if we're adding 1 and 1, we'll have 1 and 0. This 1 is still relevant because that makes up the 2, so that needs to be saved as well at the end of a calculation. So this would go to this RS null latch, and the 0 would come to this one. So this is basically how this works. It just saves the relevant information in the relevant place, depending on what part of the number is being added from this information sender. So I hope I've covered this okay. We'll be certainly covering this again when I start actually constructing a basic computer. We will most certainly cover this again, and I'll probably show it in a lot more detail and explain it a lot better, because really it's not too relevant now, and it's difficult to understand without an ALU being there, because otherwise it does not write a lot. So I will show you this in a later video, and I've given a bit of a hint that I'm planning on showing how to make a computer. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching from Crafting Redstone. Bye!